Thank you. I get a lot of I get a lot of people seem to like my island. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like I like the organization of it. I like how certain things look on it, but I don't know. I feel like it could be a little bit different. That's a kind of amazing in a way that you can't remember any of the pandemic. I already know the turnip price. Why am I asking? Sold. At least I made money. Well, that's a little difficult to say, to be honest, because I've had the game since it came out. And again, it came out right at the beginning of the pandemic, so I was playing almost every day for hours on end. Um, while I was sitting at home waiting to know when I was going to be able to go back to work. And so I probably buy, I don't know, probably around the late summer of that year, so that would have been 2020. Um, I probably had gotten like the 5 stars and everything like that to be able to like start modifying the island. But I've changed it a couple times, so this is technically my third layout, I believe. So my original layout, hang on. So my original layout of the island, my house was all the way in the bottom corner where the campsite is now, and um, the stores were where they are right now as well. Although I think they were a little bit closer to the beach, if I remember correctly. Um, I don't remember what was on the right side. It's been a while. And then there was kind of some open field stuff behind. And then along the whole back part of the island, like along the B line there, was where all the houses were for all the people, and it was like layered up and so forth. So it was like, and there was like a big, and I had a big kind of like pond or lake or whatever you want to call it, right in the middle of all the houses. Um, and then I got bored of that layout, so I changed it, and the new design that I did was similar to this one, but my house was all the way in the top left corner. Um, but that one I got bored of really quick because I didn't like the way it was laid out. Um, so I got rid of that, and then that's when I came to this version. And I finished this version like near the beginning of this year, like probably around the end of January or beginning of January, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly when. Um, and that, yeah, and the island's been like that ever since. Right, Flick is here. We were gonna sell some insects to Flick. But I've never started over again either. Like, I know a lot of people, I hear people all the time talking about how they've started over, or they've lost their island, or whatever the case may be. I don't usually get details, but this is still the same game that I started all that time ago. Now, I have started time jumping, as you can probably tell. But that was more of because I wasn't playing, like once I went back to work, obviously I wasn't playing every day anymore, and I didn't like missing days. I don't care about it as much as I used to, but I didn't like missing days. So I would write down what day I played last, and then I would just keep going from that day on. So it'd be like, so for example, like right now in my game, it says it's November 23rd, 2022. If I was to stop playing now, I would write down, okay, last played November 23rd, 2022 in the AM. And then now it didn't matter whether it was a day, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it was, the next time I would go to play, I would set the time to November 23rd, 2022 in the PM, and then continue playing, because I didn't like, or I would just go to the next day, either way, but I didn't like missing any days, so I would keep moving forward, which is why I'm slightly behind. But now that I've collected almost everything I've wanted to collect, partly in help from streaming, of course, I'm not as concerned about that anymore. So if I skip time now, it's not really that big of a deal. The only reason why I'm not skipping through time at the moment is because I'm using a website to try and keep track of turnip prices, to see if I can get better turnip prices. Didn't work out this particular week in game because obviously 136 is, I do know, is the best I'm going to be able to get. So it is what it is. All right, insects. Put something away. Get something out. Ooh. I'm really only a fan of first-party Nintendos on Switch. So I've got both of the Mario Party games. I've got almost every Mario game, I think. So you can see what I've played recently. I do have Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Kart 8, Mario Party Superstars, New Super Mario Brothers U. I've got a bunch of games, some that I've never even played before. But yeah, it's mostly the first party Nintendo stuff I play on this. Um, so yeah, the only other Switch games I've actually streamed online too is oh, excuse me. I do. Yeah, I have the expansion plus, and I have it set up for the family because there's actually 4 Switch. Everyone in the house has their own Switch, so but yeah, the only other Nintendo first-party titles I've streamed is I do have streamed Mario Party Superstars a couple times. I've done Zelda more recently, obviously. I've done Mario Kart a few times, and something else that's escaping me. But yeah, so those are the ones I've kind of primarily done. I've kind of been stuck in a bit of a rut gaming wise, which is what I'm trying to kind of get out of a little bit. So I've started it with the because like it's kind of dumb because like I did so much Animal Crossing streaming on here for a while there that it's almost like I turned my Twitch channel into an Animal Crossing Twitch stream, which was never really my intention, of course, but that's just kind of how it happened, which, I mean, I'm not going to complain about, but it was like, okay, gotta try and inject a little bit of variety into this. So what I did is, rather than outright alienating anyone who joined here because they enjoy Animal Crossing, not saying that that means I'm going to only ever stream Animal Crossing on Twitch going forward, but it might be like a game that I stream at least the most, like probably stream the most often. I decided to see about, I just joined Kick not that long ago as well, and the idea of that was that like I've basically got a thing where you can vote, and it's got my entire back catalog of games that I either haven't finished or haven't even started, that I still want to actually play and or finish. And the idea is that whatever game is leading the votes when I go to stream, that's what I'm going to play until and then I'll play that on Kickstream every single week until I either am bored of the game, done with the game, whatever the case may be, and then I'll pick whatever the next item is. You know, whatever the next game is, that's what I'll go after next, kind of thing, right? So, yeah, and yes, I did see those 3 Game Boy games. I actually haven't actually opened it up on my actual app yet, but I did see the announcement about them, so I knew that they were being added. I used to have those games too. I don't have a Game Boy anymore. Eventually, over time, though, I want to get everything a little bit more, like a more variety of stream games going and stuff like that, so. Yes, I do. And for some reason, they're lined up twice, so guess what? One of them's gonna get booted. I mean, you can line up twice, but twice in a row is weird because it's not going to really work too well to your advantage. Okay. Oh. Yeah, so I'm using a website called Turnip Exchange. It has my dodo code posted, and it limits who can see the dodo code, and you basically sign up to visit the island, and it puts you into a line. And then when it's your turn, it shows you the code. One of the rules for my island, though, is you can only visit once per lineup. So if you want to visit again, you have to leave, reline up, and come back again. And which is fine. So some people do that. They'll open multiple browsers and line up multiple times. But usually not so that they're twice in a row. Because that's just kind of dumb. And the other rule I have is that you have to be on the island within 10 minutes after you receive the code. Otherwise, I boot you from the line. Kind of, yeah. So, if you actually type the !join, that Twitch command there, it will give you the link to Turnip Exchange to get directly to my island. You can also limit how many people you want visiting at once. Like, the game already limits you to 8. But if you want to do less than 8, you can. And I'm only doing 2. Oh, no! I didn't mean to hit no. Damn it. What don't you understand about the turnips? So, the purpose of the turnips is essentially it's like gambling in the stock market. Think of it as like stocks, like the New York Stock Exchange. So, the idea is that they're sold every Sunday between 8 a.m. and 12 noon. And the idea is that you want to buy them low. The price is usually never lower than like 90 bells. And it's usually not higher than like 110. And then every day between like every day Monday through Saturday, between 8 a.m. and 12 noon, and between 12 noon and whatever time the Nook store closes, I think it's like 10 p.m., there will be a different price that the Nooks will buy turnips for. And the idea is that you want to make a profit, right? You want to sell them for more than you bought them for. You know, just like buying stock, right? You buy stock low, you want to sell high. It can be, but it can also be like extremely bad too. Like you could get what's called a decreasing week, which means the price will just keep going down from what you bought and just keep getting lower and lower and lower. Or you could get a higher price. What they call a small spike, which means you might get a little bit more than what you paid. Like I think that's what we're in here. I think, is this a... Yeah, so this week is considered a small spike. It was only 70 bells on Sunday, or 90 bells, sorry, on Sunday for me to purchase. And this is at 136 that I'm selling for, which is the highest it will be this week. Somebody actually figured out the algorithm for how it randomizes the turnip prices and created a website where you can just enter your information and follow along and help you figure out when's the best time. Because, like, to put in perspective, if I didn't use this yesterday, like when I was at the previous day, it said it was 126 bells, right? And I might have been like, oh crap, I better sell now. This might be the only chance to make a profit. And then I would have found today, it's like, oh, it's 136. Crap. I could have made more money, right? And that goes for like large spikes, small spikes, or you could end up like going, oh, 136 isn't that much of a thing. I'll try harder, and then find out it goes down even further. So the website is quite helpful in that regards, because it actually allows you to kind of see what is the potential earnings each day, and you know at a certain point, like, okay, this is going to be the day. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it's not going to be any bigger than this day if you follow along and fill it out properly. So that's kind of how I knew that this was going to be the highest it was going to be this particular week. That is correct, yes. So yeah, like what I had started doing is I had started opening up the island when I got good turnip prices and stuff like that, and people would come and sell. And like lots of people feel like, even if you tell them like, oh, you don't need to tip me, like, because some people on Turnip Exchange will like require tips for you to visit, and which is fine, that's their prerogative and so forth. And some people will tip you whether you, even if you tell them you don't need or want any tips, they'll still tip you anyways. What I was doing instead is I had listed in that top right corner on my stream some of the items that I was still looking for. And like, because I was trying to complete my flower gardens and stuff like that, and like all that other stuff. So I was like, I'll put what I need on there, and what I would put in the Turnip Exchange description was that no tips were required, but if you feel you'd like to donate something, you can join my Twitch live stream, and there's a list of things I need. And people would do that, and they came and they brought me like flowers and stuff like that, so I was able to complete my gardens and other stuff. So it was quite helpful actually. And now I've kind of collected everything. The only thing I'm missing is a couple insects, but you can't donate insects, and they're not in season in November anyway, so it is what it is. But yeah. I was gonna check something, but I forgot what it was now. Oop. Yeah, like, and that's, I mean, it's part of how, because I started doing that even during the pandemic. It's kind of how my Twitch channel just kind of grew out of nowhere. Like, it suddenly went from like no followers to where I'm at now. So I can't complain. But yeah, like I try to help people out. Like I don't advertise that I do this, but I actually had a guy once come over on the island to sell turnips. And while he was here, he was like, hey, you don't happen to have, what was he looking for? I think he was looking for more stone, like more stones, because I guess he was trying to build something and he needed more stones. And I mean, as you can see by, oh, hang on, we'll let that person leave first. But yeah, like they were like, do you have any extra stones they were like, that I could buy off of you? And it's like, yeah, I do. And so I went into my storage, I pulled out a bunch of stones, dropped them on the ground, they dropped some money, whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't mind helping people out. Like, that's the thing. It's like, now it's more of just like, I'm not really playing the game for me anymore. I'm kind of playing it for others. So like, yeah, as you can see, I have a lots of stuffs. Because I don't really sell anything to the Nooks. So people ask if I have something, and it's like, yeah, sure. Only one that I kind of recall. I was, like, this time, I was running around doing some stuff elsewhere on my island while my island was open. And all of a sudden somebody asked in game, who runs this who's in charge of this island? And somebody else, I guess, who was nearby, because there was more than one person on the island at the time, went, oh, me, even though it wasn't their island. And the person gave that person money, and it was like, again, I don't need the tips, so I don't care. But the only other thing, like, that would be the only kind of scumbag thing I think I remember happening. It's like, yeah, it wasn't that person's island, but, you know, thanks for coming out. Yeah, so as you can see, and I didn't even finish the list. I got a lot of stuff. But yeah, it wasn't. That's the only real scumbag thing I remember. Outside of that, I mean, you get people who can't read instructions. They'll visit the island. They'll leave the queue once they leave, like they're supposed to, but then they'll come back anyways, even though they haven't re-queued or re-lined up, because obviously they've written down the dodo code when they visited the first time, and it's like, and so you tell them, it's like, yeah, you're not allowed to come back unless you re-line up and so forth, and they're like, oh, I didn't know. Like, yes, you did. You just chose to ignore it, and you were hoping you'd be able to visit as many times as you want. You just don't want to wait your turn because you're impatient. And I get it, too, like, especially if you have, like, a really good turnip price. Like, I think the best price I've ever had where I've had my island open was, like, around 550 So needless to say, there was a lot of people waiting to come, and it's like that's why you need. I understand you don't want to wait when you've already been here once, and you could only bring so many turnips over at a time. But it's like there's a lot of people patiently waiting. It's not fair to make them wait longer because you want to make another visit already. So, ooh, my pockets are full. Oh, yeah, I probably should have got rid of that money too. Whoops. But yeah, other than that, no, I haven't really had too many issues, like, or any real problems or anything like that. Where did Flick go? Where are you, Flick? Oh, hell no. I've been an Animal Crossing fan since the first game on... Well, let me rephrase that. The first game in North America, which was on GameCube. I know the first game technically came out on N64 in Japan, but... Where'd he go? Hate it when you can't find the character after who you... Like, why can't they just stay in the same place? So Lobo has always been one of my favorites ever since he was introduced, which I believe was in... I don't think he was in the first Animal Crossing game, but I believe he was in the second one. He has actually been a villager in every single one of my games. I don't know how I always end up with Lobo, but I always end up with Lobo. This was the first game where I didn't end up with Lobo, and I was very disappointed. But it's weird because, like, I get weirdly attached to the villagers in my game, and one of the things that always bugged me was that these villagers would, like, randomly leave if you didn't play for a couple of days. This was actually part of the reason why I started doing the thing with the clock, where I would make sure that I never missed a day, because I was paranoid that it was going to be the same thing where the villagers would just randomly leave if I didn't play for a few days. Turns out that's not the case in the Switch version. They don't leave unless you tell them they can leave. But I didn't know that at the time. But I get weirdly attached to my villagers, and as you can see, I've got Lobo now. I get weirdly attached to my villagers for some reason. And I didn't want to get rid of anybody once I had the 10 I had. But I didn't fully understand how the game initially worked this time. And I had a visitor at my campsite one day, and, you know, you're talking to them and so forth. They're like, oh, I really like it here, blah, 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 blah. And I just randomly selected the option that says, oh, you should consider moving here, not thinking about what that would do.